So I go into makeup, hard to believe but true. I go into makeup just after Anne, and as I go in there, Anne has her top rolled right down to the little nip-nops, and, for want of a more technical word, and a lady with a sponge on her hand was rubbing all over them.
It's called fake tan.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
That might be what you called it. I call it something else completely different. It's the cheapest thrill I've had for hours. Fantastic,
Oh,
thank you.
Thanks for calling me a cheap thrill. What a way to complete.
Beautiful nip-nops, though. Now then, our special guest this morning is Dave Spikey, ladies and gentlemen. How the devil are you? Did anyone rub your nip-nops this morning?
I have never heard that term before in all my life. Nip-nops. That is terrible.
It's a southern thing.
Is it
Croydon, yeah.
Okay.
Now then, after spending 30 years working in blood for the NHS, quite literally, Dave swapped his lab coat for a joke book and has been a fixture on the circuit ever since. And talking of joke books, he's got a new one. It's called He Took My Kidney, Then Broke My Heart, which is a weird title and an even stranger subject, I guess.
Well, on tour, I've done about 100 on this tour. I've got a few to go. I always take the local newspaper on stage. I think it's a great icebreaker. And see as an outsider in that town or city whether I can find something amusing in there that they might just wash over them.
Because it's a dying industry.
Yeah, yeah, of course it is, provincial newspapers. But, and I thought I might get one or two stories. Thousands. Just thousands of stories inside local... You must have seen your local newspapers. And so I just started collecting them, and I wasn't intending to do a book. I was going to maybe base my next tour on it. And it's just full of these stories from the inside. And these all happened on my tour over the last year.
So they're actually from... The stories come from...
all real stories from the last...
From while you were actually doing...
Last 12 months, yeah. All of them. He took my kidney, then broke my heart.
What are your favourites?
Well, that's my favourite. He took my kidney and broke my heart, which I used the title was this woman who donated a kidney to her husband, and when he got better, he ran off with her best friend. And, I mean, it's usually the organ they reject, isn't it? Not the actual... my favourite story is, and I can clean it up a bit, is a brilliant story about a vicar in Sheffield who got admitted to Sheffield Northern Hospital with a potato stuck up his bottom. And the headline is Jacksy Potato. I think I would have gone for something like Spud You Like, or Potato Wedgie. Maybe, I don't know. But no, so his story was, as he went and he got admitted to casualty, was that he was hanging his curtains in the kitchen, in the nude, as you do. He slipped backwards and sat on a potato. And I'm just thinking, hey, well, that's think of the neighbours. Does he always do that? It's like, are they looking at the window going, he's at it again, Maureen? He's got his meat and 2 veg out. No, hang on.
Was he smashed?
Hang on. 3 veg. He's got 3 veg. But the follow-up to the story, the lovely bit, because some of these stories... And then you go to the hospital, and the spokesperson from the hospital says, oh, it's not unusual, we get all sorts of stuff up there. You know, he said, you know, cucumbers, all the way getting too graphic. He said, but my favourite was, he said, oh, Russian doll, had a Russian doll. And I'm thinking, well, that is something that looked good on paper, obviously, but they've not thought it through.
Quite difficult to get out as well, because you keep...
Exactly, that's it. You're there in operating theatre going, I've got the forceps, I've got it, it's some sort of doll.
I'm going to share one. I've got to share one with you as well. The crew know about this. I'm going to circumlocute it to get it on TV. So, Dr. David Bull tells this fantastic story about examining somebody up the back passage using something called a proctoscope.
Of course.
And the man had been having a lot of pain. And as he looked up the proctoscope, he noticed a teddy bear. He looked up the proctoscope again, and he realised, David, that he'd caught his children in need tie under the end of his proctoscope, and the aforementioned teddy bear was indeed Pudsey Bear at the end of his tie, waving back at him.
They'll do anything for charity, won't they?
Now, there's a new DVD as well. This is of the Best Medicine tour, which is still on, isn't it?
Yeah.
In time for Christmas, which gives us a great excuse to show Dave in action. Here's his guide to winding up restaurant staff. Pain.
Charity.
As he looked up the proctoscope, he noticed...
You and your proctoscope.
Don't think that one went quite well. How do you entertain restaurant staff or wind them up? Can you remember?
Well, it's the thing about making your own fun, basically, and we don't do enough of it. We sort of, I think society, we've got a bit too restrained. There were times in the past where you got a chance to say something or do something that you think, oh, that'd be funny, and these days we seem to go, oh, no, I've not thought that. And you should do that. You should seize the moment. So in restaurants, and you need 6 of you. You need to be out on a friend's night out. 8 are brilliant, 10, 6 minimum. And one of you order asparagus as a starter, just one of you, just for the gag. And so when the starters come, waiters and waitresses always talk in the same way. They will come over and say, right, who's asparagus? And you say, I'm asparagus. But just before she puts it down, you get your mate to jump up and go, no, I'm asparagus.
I'm asparagus.
You get the whole restaurant.
Okay. I'm asparagus, and so's my wife.
Like that, you know.
Ah.
It's one
Now,
of
Mastermind, I don't like to talk about it after you spanked me, but I understand you've...
That was my specialist subject.
I understand you've done it again for Children in Need.
Yeah, I did Children in Need special comedians, and they wouldn't let me use my original subject.
Blood.
Blood, human
study
blood.
subject for 30 years while
Yeah.
we were paying for you on the
That's
NHS, yeah. If you can call it pay.
So I had to choose a second subject. I didn't really have one, so I chose the Leeds and Liverpool Canal. Because it runs at the back of my house, I know it really quite well, that bit, just that bit there. But I looked on Amazon and there was only one book on it, and I thought, well, if there's only one book, that's their research, isn't it? But the book came in a post. Is that big? It's like...
And, can I ask how you did, or does that spoil it?
I don't win. I don't win.
You don't win?
No. I got 11 on my specialist subject, was quite... And John Humphrey said to me, he said, how long have you been an expert on the Leeds and Liverpool Canal? I said, since I bought a boot last week, to be honest with you. And so I did all right. 11's all right. 11's all right. Yeah.
Is it that you're learning Spanish?
I'm trying to learn Spanish, but I've made a terrible...
not?
Well, because I spend a lot of time in Spain, I think you should make an effort, shouldn't you? You know.
Yeah.
But I was ordering the bill in the restaurant the other night, well, the other month, with a lot of friends trying to show off. And do you know what the Spanish is for the bill?
Cuenta.
Cuenta. Do you know what Spanish is for cheese?
Queso.
Queso, yeah. So I'll get this on me. I'll get the bill. Have you finished? Caballero. That's Spanish for waiter. Caballero.
Very good.
Caballero. Le queso, por favor. For everyone. Sí. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pero ocho. Queso. Muchas gracias. You've never seen so much cheese in all your life.
I don't know, regular viewers, they've seen a lot of Punsy Bear make you sick. Email your thoughts to writestuff@5.tv, and Kirsty will read some out in a bit. It's all for charity. It's the 29th Children in Need tonight, 7 interminable hours of dismal entertainment. We've got dancing newsreaders, Terry Wogan and the woman judge from Strictly who knows diddly about dancing. They're amongst the turns designed to part us from our hard-earned cash. Last year, it pulled in £38 million. That's enough to keep Jonathan Ross on the BBC payroll for 6 more years. So why not sack him? Chuck Pudsey in the Thames and give the money saved to those grasping, needy children, each of whom has been blessed with £250 of my taxes for their bleeding child trust funds. Up until 2 years ago, host Sir Terry was earning a pretty penny from this charity stitch-up, 10 grand a show, and he only lost his paycheck after newspapers kicked up a stink. But what really gets my goat is the way the entire BBC network comes together, so there's almost no escape. If you were watching EastEnders last night, right, you'd have seen the Albert Square Community Centre turn into an offshoot set for Strictly, a great ad for the Beeves dance show, and what's more, Pudsey Bear was there too! Thank heavens I'm going out tonight. It does mean I'm going to miss you, though, Dave.
Oh, yeah.
Children in Need, then.
I'm participating in Children in Need, on BBC Two, though. As if that makes a difference. on Mastermind. But yeah, I take all your points, but just don't watch it. You know, it's just don't give money, don't watch it. It's there, or it's not. There's plenty of other channels, plenty else to do on a Friday night. Just go out. If you've got a problem with it, don't watch it.
A lot of people have been saying, I have no idea, but they're saying that the cost of staging it... Now, a lot of people give up their time for free. Of that, there is no doubt. But there are also quite high-budget shows out there as well. OK, it's investing, speculating to accumulate, I guess, but... Does it balance
I see what you're saying about all the money and £1 million. Was it £1 million?
£1 million for around the world in 80 days.
Waste of time. Whose idea was that, you know? But it fills a night's television for BBC, which... You can argue against that as well, but for me, it's a charity. My main problem with charity is the fact that we've got all these children in need. Why do we have to have... Why aren't we, as a civilised society, why aren't we providing for those children in need? Why do we have to have these massive charity events, you know? And like you say, you know, it is dismal. Most of it is dismal. You know, newsreaders dancing about. It'd be better if the dancers did the newsreading, I think, probably. That'd be a good way around. You know, get everybody from Fame reading the news in the head wall.
Executives thinking, great idea.
Yeah. Or get Jonathan Ross to do one of these charity parachute jumps dressed as a nun or something like I had to do once. And
Now, that might be interesting.
yeah. Something like that.
Do you like it, Anne? Are you a fan?
I mean, I've got to be careful what I say because I work for the BBC, but
So
I've
do I.
always found it totally puke-worthy. I really have. I just think that it's the idea of celebrities who, after all, are very well paid, most of the time anyway, sitting there telling you to give money, when I think, you know, financially it doesn't make any sense. But the other thing is they're all enjoying this really sort of hokum, evil evening where we're all sort of singing and dancing together, and I've always really disliked it.
I love you.
I love that. You were like, I've got to be careful what I say, but it's puke-worthy.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
We've got to be careful because when you're in the BBC, by God, you have to conform and you have to do your bit. And I confess to doing my bit for children in need many times, and I've probably been very puke-worthy while doing it. But you know, there you are. You have to join in at when you're at the BBC.
Maybe it should be every 4 years, like the World Cup.
Well, telethons the world over have died a death now, haven't they? I mean, there was
Tough
a great
times.
thing for them in the 80s, but children in need has hung on in there, and I suppose they could argue that it does good.
It does.
And people do give money, and they are watching.
Okay,
so
okay.
who are we
Quick
to
word
sort
from you,
of-
Scott, because we've got to take a break.
I think TV costs money to make, and if you
Yeah.
didn't have a fairly big budget production, no one will watch it. People do watch it; it makes lots of money, and I quite enjoy the naffness of it. I love the wacky people in their offices sitting in.
I love
glass
the
of
wacky
baked
people in the
beans.
offices. They're the best bit, isn't it?
I love the big checks for £10.
The big checks are good.
And the
aren't they?
really, really long plug for the charitable bank behind it, yeah.